I like that there's always kind of a flavor given to different types of isekais. One of the kind of arguments of the idea of there being so many isekais every season is that they think that they're all the same, but thankfully a lot of them kind of take different twists on how they handle the actual isekai element. Is it a power fantasy? Do they have overpowered abilities that make them popular to everybody? Do they struggle in some way with some kind of very dire situation? Or in the case of how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom, you kind of have this aspect of building a nation. This idea of somebody being so smart at something, at least, that they're able to not go there and save with superpowers, but save with more a social aspect, more of an economic aspect. But this is my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of this series that is airing in the summer 2021 anime season. It's going for 13 episodes, and this is my thoughts on it. So essentially how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom opens up with a guy named Kazuya Soma. And Soma, as it opens up the series, you have his grandfather, who is like the last of his relatives alive, tells Soma essentially that he respects the fact that he's there and that he does not want Soma to die alone, and that he needs to go and, basically build a family so that the time comes where he's in his situation, he'll always have somebody there with him when he passes away. And he does like the fact that Soma is there in his final days. And after his grandfather passes away, Soma kind of goes about his life, doing studies and stuff like that. And at some point, he is transported to another world. We kind of find out there's this other world, Landia, and 10 years prior to him being summoned there, a demon army basically started appearing in the north, and they took over a third of the entire continent. And this particular nation that summoned him there, this is the funny part, because usually whenever a hero is summoned to another world, it's usually because, this hero is going to have some kind of special ability. He's going to be able to fight the demon lord, and he's going to save the nation. No, this particular nation that he's summoned to in this particular continent, essentially, every nation has to put money towards a funding to fund fighting the demon lord. And in this particular case, they're running out of money. And you'll find out later it's because their main source of income pretty much turned into cotton. And at some point, the other nations found out about this and started building their own cotton. So their exports are terrible. So they don't have money. And their last resort is to summon a hero. And then they were planning on giving that hero over to the other nations so that that would kind of cover their funding. So yeah, someone finding this out, it's like, what are they going to do to me? They're going to dissect me or something like that? He kind of panics. And so he gives them an alternate, like, okay, instead of, handing me over, why don't I see if I can help your money situation before you do that? And they're like, okay, that sounds good. And so he starts to actually figure out that, essentially a way that he can pay off the current funding is to sell off all the national treasures, and he kind of divides them off and sells the things that aren't weapons or have historical value to them. And this pays him off. And the king, in kind of response to this, decides to hand over the throne to Soma. Like, I'm going to step down, I'm going to give it over to Soma, and Soma's going to basically lead us into success. And so at this point, he's now the reigning king of this nation, and he's wed to the daughter, and he's now basically trying to figure out ways of making the country itself successful. And he goes through misappropriating funds. He's going through, essentially, again, the more agricultural aspects in the idea of them having too many cotton fields and trying to change them over. And then towards the later part of the second episode, he essentially does a call out to the entire nation. He says, anybody with a certain talent that they think is better than anybody else's, it can be anything, just one talent that you have that nobody else can kind of overcome you with, please come forward and apply to be a part of this kind of major force of people with certain talents that can kind of help the nation build and go forward. So I gotta say, it's kind of assuming, like, if you are the best blacksmith ever, come over here and you'll be the blacksmith of our nation, basically. It seems like the kind of concept they're going for. So yeah, I'm pretty warm on this series so far. I've enjoyed it so far. I do like the idea of the take of building a nation rather than it just being a power fantasy. He does get an ability when he does come there, but it's like an ability to transfer his subconscious to something. So he uses it to transfer his subconscious to some pins so that he does paperwork faster. I'm assuming later on he can use that to possibly, thwart somebody's attack or something like that later on. But as it stands now, it's just a means to get his work done. But yeah, I do like the character so far. They do have like a saber type main character, which is the princess that he's kind of wed to. Alicia, she's really cute. I like her reactions. I like that she's very level-headed about the situation. She does kind of see that he's put in a situation that he didn't ask for. Where it does seem like at first she's very upset at him. Like, what do you do? How do you take the throne from my father? What are you doing? She realizes that, look, this guy's was kind of pushed in this situation by my father, so I'll kind of help him out with the situation. Didn't really get much side characters besides the two of them, being Soma and this princess. But I'm assuming we'll get into that later on. It does seem like every nation has a princess, and it seems like that's probably going to have every princess part of his harem. But like I said, I do like the concept so far. I honestly, like I said, warm, just because what they're doing with the whole build the nation stuff so far isn't that interesting. I'm hoping now that he has his call out to people with different abilities that both the chemistry will improve, because you'll have a lot more characters in his surroundings, and also possibly getting to different things that these people are talented at and how that will improve the nation itself. So I'm looking forward to the next coming episodes, because I think that a lot of the storytelling and stuff is going to really blossom with this particular series. But like I said, so far it's kind of warm. Like, it's not doing anything special, but at the same time, it's a solid opening for the series to really kind of introduce the world and what's going on. The comedy's been pretty solid so far. Most of it's kind of centered around Licia and her embarrassment, or kind of trying to be realty when she's in a personal situation with him. I really got a kick out of the summoners when they first brought him there. They're like, oh, hey, it actually worked. And this other guy's like, hey, you always got to try everything once, right? And of course, a lot of laughs around the idea of how the king basically just kind of let him have it, and just now he's just chilling off to the side with the queen all the time, not really doing anything. And literally, like, he just dropped everything on this guy. But yeah, like I said, decent so far. I think, like I said, a lot of the enjoyment's going to come from the next coming episodes. I think they're going to really start building stuff up for this series overall. But so far, it's just kind of, another kind of building a nation type of style. Really hope that the stories about building up the nation get a little more complex. I guess that's where I'm really sitting at right now, is I don't really think a lot of the elements of building up this nation has been all that complex so far. It's not been that interesting. And I'm really hoping that stuff kind of starts building up going forward. But that's my thoughts on how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. And I hope you guys enjoyed this impression. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the series so far, if you're going to check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. It does help us out and spread the word. And y'all take care.